He's like, I really don't want to move, so please don't make me move. He's so well camouflaged in there, huh? Oh, show me that thing. He's like, don't make me use this.
There's the rattle. Wow. Perfect shot. Best shot we got yet.
Nice. Yeah, I think you can tell that his rattle is intact. The first snake that we filmed that was partially under the sage branch, its rattle had been broken because it didn't end in that perfect taper. Sorry. Don't worry, you won't see a human again until October. That would be me.
Hi everybody and welcome to Central Washington. This is another rattlesnake video. It's late April and that's Adrian Slade taking some photos of rattlesnakes. So yes, we have rattlesnakes here at this den, Wind Farm, Kittitas County, Central Washington. Thanks for joining us. Let's get started and learning more from Adrian.
Yeah, so I actually see a snake.
You do?
It's in the shadows, so it's just coming out. So that means we could, I bet in an hour, this will have a few snakes up and about basking. But the fact that he's still just waking up and coming out means we're a little early. But that's good. I'd rather be early than late and catch some while they're off guard.
By the way, props to you for asking me a question, me starting to drone on, and you not cutting me off in the middle saying, I see a snake.
Oh, I mean, that showed do that.
That showed real patience.
No, I mean, you
dedication.
answered a question that I really wanted the answer to. Like, because so much of my free time spent trying to find rattlesnake habitat and mostly rattlesnake dens is about finding these gold mine rock outcrops. Mm-hmm. And would you even call this an outcrop? Like, is that a more specific term?
It is if we have some clear bedrock in place.
Yeah. In
other words, that it hasn't fallen off, it hasn't moved at all. It's
moving, right?
This is mostly moving, but if we decided, Adrian, if we got serious and we said, look, we need to see the outcrop, we wouldn't do this, but we'd spend 3 days hauling each of these guys away, and we would have a nice part of the lava flow in place.
In place, yeah. Okay.
So it's generally an outcrop, but no, it's too rubbly to really be able to make any mapping stuff. So you see a snake in here.
Yeah, so you want me to point it out to you?
Sure.
Okay, all right. So if you look in you see where there's like this rock with the white line where your shadow is being cast? Do you see his little pattern in the shadows there? Mm-hmm. I don't know if it'll pick up on the phone, but.
I think we got him.
Nice.
Beautiful.
So, I live in an area that it's a canyon and there's lots of basalt and talus and weathering, but the way that the talus weathers is a lot different than this. So, and this isn't talus, I know, but there's lots of large flat pieces of rock around here, which are ideal wildlife habitat. I mean, that is the rock that a snake would be under, and lots of other critters too, like amphibians and invertebrates and small mammals. But big kind of rounded rocks that are just sitting on the ground don't provide much in the way of wildlife habitat for like a subterranean microhabitat. So what geologic processes dictate how these rocks weather and get so perfect and flat and wildlife suited?
Thank you for the question. What we know is that this is the entablature part of a lava flow. So you have these horizontal fractures that show up typically in the middle of a flow, not really the column area, but the middle. And sometimes those fractures are so closely spaced that they almost make like vinyl record albums. Like those plates are so thin.
Oh, okay.
And you hit them and they ping basically. That's what we know. That's the entablature within a lava flow from cooling cracks. But what we don't know is why that pattern exists.
Yeah.
What in the cooling of the lava creates that chaotically fractured entablature. And some think that when you have a lava flow hot and liquid and starting to cool, you might get a bunch of rainwater or snow or something getting in there and creating steam to kind of create these these slabs basically. But the fact that you're mentioning that those entablatures, those platey, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, the platey rocks, like these.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, yeah, I mean, and we're kind of maybe I'm stretching it, but we're maybe at the transition in your den between kind of the columnar stuff and maybe an entablature stuff is kind of in the weeds here, literally.
Yeah, it's definitely more kind of down in the spill out. Look at that sage growing out of the den. Oh, so perfect. This den is everything I've ever dreamed of in a rattlesnake den.
This is a perfect morning.
I know, it's so beautiful out. The meadowlarks are singing. Yeah, this part's a little tricky, but the snakes are still very concentrated around the point of ingress, which is the sites within the den where they go in to get below the frost line, which usually correlate with the points of egress, which are the sites where they come out to warm up in the spring. And so in another couple of weeks, there'll probably be more snakes scattered around this stuff, which is not the point of ingress. The points of ingress are a little bit more around this way. So we can be a little bit more casual about how we walk through this section here. But later in the spring, this can be a really dicey part where it can be kind of like a landmine situation where not in a way that's dangerous to me. It's more that I'm afraid that I might step on a snake unwittingly.
Sure. So we're at a different location that we were in October.
Yes.
And back in October, we only saw one snake because you had concluded that pretty much everybody was down underground for the winter. The snakes we see here, were they down underground right here from October till now?
Yeah, this den, this is their home site where they spend the winter to avoid lethally cold temperatures. So they've probably been using this rocky outcropping for maybe hundreds of years, maybe even more. It's hard to say, but as I was getting at earlier, in an area like this where you can look around and see that there's very little rock, like large rock structures around. The places where there are those rock structures that can provide overwintering habitat for snakes are so vital that they are probably used for millennia. So it was right here, the year that I found this den, which I believe was 2019. I startled a snake that was moving through this section of rock. It was later in the spring, they were kind of spreading out, but I think it was the biggest rattlesnake that I've ever hiked up on. It was like, I think it was over 3 feet long. People will tell you that they get bigger than 3 feet long. That is incredibly uncommon. When a rattlesnake has been eating squirrels for most of its adult life, it can certainly look longer than 3 feet, but it's usually not. And you might wanna, if you can get to about here, just move really slowly. Do you see where he is, first of all? No. So there's this forked sage. Yeah, you got it. Okay. So just try not to cast your shadow over him. That might spook him. And if you can, I don't have a very good view of his head from here because the sage is in the way. But I don't know if you can get a better look from where you are.
I'll try to come in right here before anything else happens.
I think he's chilling. I spooked him, so he rattled at me for a second because I didn't see him. But then he made a series of calculated decisions and opted to not leave, which is great for everyone.
Good. I can see the rattle, I think.
Yeah, it's facing us because he had it. It was activated earlier. You can see he looks pretty dirty. Like his pattern is harder to make out, especially on his tail. If you can see over on the left side of him, to the left of his head, he's really dirty. And so that means that he probably, when he shed last year, he probably shed earlier in the year because then he got kind of dirty again before going back into his den, and he's definitely not shed yet this year.
I'm sorry, is that his head looking right at us?
Yeah, it's just to the left of his rattle. Yeah, that's his head. And you can see his little heat sensing pits below his eyes, to the front and below his eyes. Those are the characteristic mark of a pit viper, which is the only kind of viper that we have in North America. They're the most recently evolved group of snakes, and they have these specialized heat sensing pits that allow them to detect prey passively. So they don't even need to necessarily like flick their tongue to chemically locate prey, because their prey is warm-blooded usually. They can just detect the heat signature of a mouse or a squirrel or whatever walking by in front of them, and it kind of like wakes them up, even if they're in sort of a passive state of being, you know, semi-conscious. It will alert them. And the way that those heat sensing pits work is they have a thin membrane inside of them that has a super heat sensitive protein in the membrane.
Oh my.
That kind of acts as this like specialized heat detector. And it because they are sit and wait predators, they don't actively forage for food. They just sit still and wait for it to come to them. That's how the heat pits serve them to do that fantastically lazy approach to hunting.
Well, yeah.
As little energy wasted as possible, right? I got my phone. I want to take a little video for my Instagram of us out here looking at a snake.
So he's so dead calm because he's still waking up, or he is there any reason he's so frozen, basically?
You know, well, that's their default, right? They just sit and chill for most of the time, and then, you know, they'll move in between different locations to change their hunting site, or to find a mate, or to have their babies. But for the most part, they're sitting still, just hanging out, basking, warming up.
That's what I'm getting at. Is that a good basking spot, or are they normally out on top of these flat rocks?
You know, this is a great basking spot in my opinion, because he has this perfect cover. So I keep touching my microphone, I'm sorry.
You're good.
If I had come up on this exact snake in the same way that I did, but he didn't have that dead sage branch next to him, if he was just an open rock, I would bet that he would have completely gone back underground.
I see.
Because he had no sort of intermediate cover where he can compromise between staying in the sun, because he wants to warm up right now, and having this little thing to hide under partially. And also probably he might be aware that it's further aiding in his camouflage right now. But yeah, I think he just chose a really sweet microhabitat basking site for this morning, because it's not just bare open rock. It also has this dead vegetation component going on. That's what matters.
So that rattle just now was over here to the left?
Yeah. Oh, I see a snake.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not worrying about that snake because he's underground now, so we're not going to get to see him.
Okay.
He was spicy though. We were several feet away from him, and he's still... Okay, so this snake is... I saw him before he saw me. Ha! He is... So you see this big... You might want to come over. Come stand right here.
I'm going to come right over and next to you.
Yeah. No. Yeah, no closer to... He's right there. Yeah, so if... You're good where you are, probably, because he hasn't spooked yet, so... Closer the better, but... There's always risk with getting close, because then you might scare him off. Can you see his face, or just a coil?
I just see a segment of him.
Yeah, he's not even coiled up. See, I think he's on his way out.
Oh, I see his head. It's off to the right.
Off to the right, okay.
Where I am. You want to switch places?
No. You got it. I want you to get the good... Oh, hello. Yeah, that's a bigger snake. Do you have a good angle of his head at all?
Yes, I do.
Great.
Totally frozen.
Yeah, everyone's waking up.
You were right.
Hello, handsome. Ooh.
Oh wow, that's a long tongue.
Yeah. So, what kind of tongue flicks is he giving you? Are they long and slow?
10 seconds of no tongue, and then a long tongue for about a second and a half, and then retracted. He's not doing tongue stuff right now.
Tongue stuff.
If there's a lot, if there's a lot of tongue stuff, that means he's agitated.
Oh, that's a different snake.
Pardon?
Did you hear the buzzing?
No.
I just moved and I disturbed a different snake.
Okay.
It's not the one we're looking at.
Okay.
So I'd love to watch him tongue flick while you're filming him, and I can talk about his tongue flicks.
He's flicking again.
That other snake be damned. Okay. So you film him and I'll talk about his tongue flicks.
I think I got plenty of him if you...
Okay. So when you get a long, slow tongue flick that's like out, pause, in, out, pause, like it's when
Yeah, right now. Yeah.
Yeah, those are fast though. Those are more curious. So he's just like, what is this? Really long and slow ones where the tongue is out for like multiple seconds at a time, and sometimes they'll even touch their forehead with the tongue and then put it back in.
Yeah.
Those are like, I don't know if they're meant to be a warning. I don't think they are, but they're definitely, in my experience, correlated with like an agitated snake.
Okay.
Or more like I would say a suspicious snake.
Uh-huh.
Because an agitated snake might just be fleeing, right? Like they're like, okay, this is dangerous for me. But a suspicious snake is more, you know, like what is going on? They have the time to afford to just have these longer, more exploratory tongue flicks. Fast and short tongue flicks are more just like, in my experience, like curiosity, like what's in front of me, like what is this? Moving around, tongue flicking, trying to orient myself. But I call them the sketchy tongue flicks, when the snake tongue flicks really slowly and really deliberately, and it almost feels like they're telling you to back off the way that they tongue flick. But we got lucky with him. He's not mad at us.
That's a big body.
Yeah,
I mean, I can just see his head area and then whatever 2 feet down his body, and that's thick.
Yeah, he's a good sized snake. They get really big at this den. I've seen some real chonkers, but this is probably the biggest snake that we've seen so far.
Okay.
I'm so confused. Oh yeah, okay, so right under this rock with the triangle face that's looking at you, you see his head. Your shadow just went over it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then behind him actually is another smaller snake, which is the first one I think I saw.
Okay.
He's actually, the other one is back over on this side of the rock, whereas this guy's on this side of the rock.
Okay.
I don't know if you'll be able to get them both from your position.
I got the first guy.
He's cute. He's just sticking his little head out.
No tongue.
No.
That other guy was really good with the tongue. I keep saying male, so am I assuming male, or are
you are assuming male? We have no idea.
Okay.
Who anyone is gender-wise.
Okay. That's appropriate these days.
Yeah, yeah, I know. You know, sometimes when you can really see the whole body of a snake, you can make an educated guess. Okay. Males are bigger than females.
Okay.
Because they do combat and stuff. They have, what is it? Intrasexual selection.
Okay.
And that's like where males like combat for access to females, and then females they also choose between males. So males do get larger than females, and I've noticed that they have slightly different coloration, like kind of like with, you know, the paradigm is like with like the mallard duck, for instance. Like the males are much more brightly colored than females, and more so with rattlesnakes, females just, I think, tend to be a little bit more drab in a way that like they just are camouflaging more than males because they have more precious resources to protect in their wombs. And then males, there's some interesting new research that's come out that's shown that males have more intensely banded tails. Like the black and white banding on their tails is more like high contrast and more present on males than females, which may be a warning coloration thing, but we don't really know yet what it's for. But it definitely is something that I've also observed in the wild, is just that males tend to have more dramatically banded tails than females. Huh. I am really having a moment with big sagebrush right now. Actually just got a sagebrush tattoo because I love it that much.
You're all in.
I'm all in, yeah. I would marry this plant if I could. But look at this plant. She's so old. She's so beautiful. There's parts of her that have died off. There's parts of her that are growing anew. And she's home to lichen growing on her. That's wolf lichen there. I think that's wolf lichen. I might be wrong about that. But, and look at the thickness of her trunk down here. I mean, this is such an old plant. I don't know how to age sagebrush, but I would guess hundreds of years, especially given how harsh this landscape is where she's growing on. Like if she were growing in a drainage, right, getting lots of water all the time, like she might be a lot bigger but younger. At least I know that's kind of how the logic goes when you age trees. But yeah, this is just such a gorgeous plant.
You're the person I think that introduced me to the phrase, I don't know if you made it up, old growth sage.
I don't want to take credit for making it up because it's just like two concepts,
but it works
put together.
For me. I knew exactly what you're saying, and I think it was a post after a fire, and you were saying you were distraught over the loss of some old growth sage, and just that concept is. I mean, we're all drawn to old growth trees, so why not be drawn to some of these? But bristlecone.
I think other hardcore, bristlecone pines. What a plant! I think the hardcore shrub step people like myself really can get that sense of an old growth sagebrush landscape that has remained intact for super long periods of time, like the one that we're in right now, and just how special and how rare they're becoming, and how the biodiversity in these landscapes is higher than in landscapes that have lost a lot of their sagebrush component. I mean, the biodiversity on this hillside is so rich for the area.
Well, it is, and it's maybe a shock. We're 30 minutes from Ellensburg, and like everything, it seems like I'm videotaping so many different kinds of things so close to our town, but to view this as an island of diversity, I think the pictures speak volumes here.
I mean, the amount of lichen species on these rocks alone is probably like dozens. But yeah, look at how many different things could live in this sage. I mean, a snake could come up here to bask on this very firm perch here. Birds could nest in the forks of the growth. I mean, a pack rat could build a midden underneath it, as it has over on the sage over on that side. They're just such an incredible plant, and not to mention, if you haven't smelled a sagebrush before, I would highly recommend getting up close and personal, because there's nothing better than that smell to me.
Well, let me hit the smell-o-vision button on my camera here.
Yeah. But,
like at the most intimate, it's like these gerbils coming up like within an inch of your fingertips, and oh, here we go.
In the sage. There it is, my shot. Except there's an invasive tumble mustard in the way, but whatever. Don't get into botany, Nick. It'll ruin you. It'll ruin environments for you.
Okay. So
look
that's
at him.
The head on the left. He's looking straight at us.
Yeah, he's dirty too. Everyone's all dirty this year. Dirty. What did you all do? Go playing in the mud? That's a nice in situ. It's cool. Yeah, so this den has so many different regions, right? Like this is like the sage field portion of the den. And there's untold snakes in this portion. I just never see them because they're so well concealed in the sage.
Just amazed at your eyes to just cut around a corner and just see it immediately.
Oh, I mean, I got lucky with that. I actually try to not go to the same den more than twice a year in the given season at least, just because the more you go, the more disturbed they get, and I never want to impact them like that, like maybe bias them to not want to come back here, which I don't think would happen because this is such an isolated resource. They would probably come back either way. But
so let's play a little game. Let's just say 50 snakes per den, and ballpark guess for how many dens in Kittitas County.
Oh God, that I'm not.
10, 50, 200?
In Kittitas County?
Oh yeah.
Oh, like more than that.
Really?
Yeah.
More than 200?
Well, okay, let's think about all the different areas.
Like confined to basalt? Is it simple like that? All dens are in basalt here in our central Washington region?
I'm trying to think of the Kittitas County line. Does it go up to like...
Snoqualmie Pass.
No, but what's the north end of the Kittitas County line? Like
Blewett Pass.
Blewett Pass? Oh yeah, I'd say there's 200 dens in Kittitas County.
Shit. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe Dan will see this video and be like, she's crazy.
No.
But
no. That's just,
I would guess that there's probably
who better to guess than you?
There's probably 100 dens in the Quillamene alone.
No kidding.
Yeah, because a den doesn't necessarily mean 50 snakes. A den can mean 10 snakes.
Yeah, I know. We're just getting a...
Nick, we got a good one. Okay. Oh, okay, I just saw him through the sage. Wait. Okay, now see if you can see him first too. So look through, there's this.
Yes.
Yeah, you see him.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna wanna get over here.
How the hell did you see that?
I don't know, I've got, it's my snake
through...
mojo is going off right now. Snake vision. Yeah, so I don't know, you could step on this rock, but just move slow, because I don't want to spook him. He's in a good spot, and I want to get a pic. Oh. Yes. Hello. Every time. Where are you?
The microphone's picking that up.
I hope so.
We got a rattle going.
So funny.
Over there.
I have no idea where he is.
And then I'm getting... Oh yeah. You can definitely hear that rattle. Now most people would back away, but you're not doing it.
No, because I'm like, where the heck are you? I don't even see you.
Viewers, can you hear that rattle?
I hope so. He is... Oh, yeah, he is in the sage there, too. I don't know if you can see his face. He's retreating. Oh, I thought that's what I saw. His head was just barely coming out on that diagonal sagebrush branch.
He's really mad.
Yeah. See, this is what I'm talking about. There's some snakes that are just...
I can't see him.
I think he's gone. Guy. He's just... Man, he's got a big rattle to make that much noise. Yeah. Chill out. Violating his culture.
Apparently.
Some snakes.
Another dirty guy, by the way.
They're all filthy. Yeah, some snakes are more sensitive than others. I'm sorry. If you could only understand that I don't want to hurt you.
Wow. Well, this to me, this is the most obvious basking. Like this is what I visualized for everybody. I mean, they're coiled up, their heads facing the sun, whether that means anything or not.
No, yeah, it does.
Totally, like rock faces on all sides, a little bit of cover. Yeah. He's not rattling, so what's this other guy's problem?
That's what I'm saying is some snakes are more sensitive than others. And...
Okay, well, I don't think I'm going over there then.
I'm going to try and get a picture of this guy. I know, it would have been cool to see him. Full. Oh, you're totally right. My memory card is full. I'm just going to delete just a couple pictures really quick. Oh man,
delete it.
If I can just get a couple good shots. He's in a great spot. Like that's a good one.
It's a good spot.
It's a good in situ.
This is fun.
I know. Rattlesnake dens are the greatest, especially when they're like busy because they just keep kind of popping up. You're like, oh, there's another one. There's another one. It doesn't help that we clambered all over this place an hour ago, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this columnar basalt. Like, how cool is that? Is that, would that count as part of the integrity of like the original rock structure?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. But he's kind of on his way out, right?
He's about ready to break off.
Yeah. 2 more snakes.
Seriously.
Yeah. Kind of hard to see. They're in the shadows, but so if you follow, well, once you're done with filming that guy.
This guy's still moving around in his coil, and that rattle is... Oh, here, there's the head. This is the best shot I have today, I think.
Oh, really? Good.
Focus. There you go. Thank you, camera. His head is raised.
Yeah.
Tongue. Yeah, this is... We've got everything here. Want to switch with me?
I don't know, I'm fine. I just like to, if anything, I'd just love to contribute interpretation of tongue flicks. Oh yeah. He sees you.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, how worried should I be right now? Because I want to just bask.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was pretty
he was
close to the dolphin head rock.
chilling. Yeah. See, that's a good snake, you know? He's not rattling. He's not freaking out.
Right.
He knows that he could maybe just take a chance with us. That's what I ask of all snakes, is just take a chance on me. I'm not going to hurt you. You know, what if we just sat next to each other while I took pictures of you?
It's a little desperate, Adrian.
Yeah, that is definitely my approach at these dens. Like, please love me back, or at least just tolerate me.
Yeah.
There's some who just will not tolerate me, you know, as you've learned today.
Yes. Yeah, that is a beautiful snake.
Mm.
And male, maybe because of the bold stripes. I don't know. Maybe you can make a call, but
It's hard because they're also dirty right now. But he's pretty big, which is why I would guess male. Actually, we have a pretty good shot of his tail, don't we? So the real way to distinguish male versus female in snakes without the best way to distinguish a male from a female in rattlesnakes without doing anything invasive is to just look at the length of the tail. And by that I mean kind of just like the length of the banded portion of its body.
okay.
And if it's really long, there's a lot of banding, that can usually indicate that it's a male. Females don't have sexual organs that extend past their vent, which is like the one-stop shop where everything goes in and out near the bottom of the snake. Males do have sex organs that go past that, and so they just naturally have a longer tail than a female does. So I would just kind of guess that that's a male.
Okay.
Also, maybe behavior-wise, I think females tend, oh, he's coming toward us. Oh, this would be so cool if he decided that he wasn't going to worry and just come out. You look at his head, it's a little closer now.
I gotta get back to my spot.
Oh, don't move any more than that, though. I'm down to just sit here and wait for him to come out, if you will. But yeah, his head is a good couple inches closer to us than it was before. What are you thinking? He really wants to go back to where he was, Nick.
I'll back up.
But now we're here. Yeah, so females might, because he's kind of, you know, he's not just fleeing into the crevice. He's confident enough to sit and judge our danger level that we pose to him, right? And that, you could argue, might be a bit more of like a male type of behavior, because they are the gender that does combat with one another. It's not like females fight one another for rights to breed with a male in this species. So, yeah, he's coming.
Is he?
Yeah. He's decided,
He's
I really want to be in the sun.
comfortable with you, that's for sure.
It's kind of hot in the sun. I don't know. Oh my gosh. Are you filming him?
Yeah.
He's being so cute.
Oh, I still can't get a good shot.
If you come back to where you were, but just crouch
Okay.
and just move slow and low, I think we'll be all good.
Get that cheatgrass out of there.
You know, it's everywhere. But it's not as bad here as it is in some other spots, that's for sure. Okay, what are you thinking? Forgiveness. He's like moving so slowly. He's acting like he just woke up from his deep, deep winter sleep. Oh, big breath. Wow. Oh. He may have just been wanting to find a better exit. Huh? This is so cool. He's just getting into a comfy spot. He just hissed at me. Okay, those are the sketchy tent flicks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you see how they're hitting his forehead and
Up
stuff?
and down, yeah.
Yeah.
Agitated.
Yeah, what an interesting behavioral sequence that we've just witnessed, right? He fled, stood his ground, came back, reclaimed his basking spot, and is now putting up a bit of a show.
But not rattling.
No. He doesn't need to waste time rattling. Oh, do you see him just expand his body size with that breath?
No.
It might have translated to the camera. It's something I see some, especially bigger snakes do, where instead of rattling, they'll just hiss and kind of do these like, and by hissing, I just mean like a forced exhalation that it's audible, and it inflates their body when they inhale beforehand.
Oh, really?
What a funny, this is definitely a male based on that behavior. They can be really rowdy and entertaining. Like I've had males that were kind of like, oh, excuse me. His tongue just got stuck on a piece of grass. I've had males that were in kind of like combat mode, like during the breeding season. So they were like just kind of coming off of like a little round of fighting with another male and in front of a female that was ovulating. It's like this whole thing that they do in the summer. But when they're like that, they're kind of like drunk on hormones. And I've had males where I went down to sit and photograph them come up and do the combating posture to me. And I'm like, excuse me. It's very funny. They can be, you know, there's like this whole narrative where it's like they're scared of us and they think that we're predators, and all that's true, but they also have like different personalities where sometimes I think they are more likely to, I mean, obviously he's not attacking us or anything, but he's not fleeing either. He's just sitting there like, I might not be as scared of you as you think I am. Oh, what a treat to get to watch that. That's very cool. I like your personality. That was some serious decision making on his part, though.
Well, yeah.
This is another porch sometimes, but they kind of cycle through. There's probably some snakes up in here. I've definitely seen them up here before, but it can be really difficult to access this part because you'll pop over and then they'll spook. And if you get coming from above, doesn't work as well as I want it to work. I've tried it before. I just end up destroying a bunch of lichen, which I don't want to do here. It's such a precious spot in terms of the lichen. Cool. Well, I mean, I feel pretty good about today.
Oh yeah.
We definitely didn't hit it at like the primest day of snakes, but like I said before, that can be really chaotic and almost not enjoyable because you're just getting rattled at from every direction. Just not my favorite feeling.
Well, I have total faith and confidence in you. I don't feel on edge at all, and I think I would if we'd had 7 more rattles going on at
too
the
many.
same time, you know?
Even I can feel just mostly that I'm just afraid of stepping on a snake or something. But yeah.
Which you've done?
Oh yeah, I've stepped on rattlesnakes before. They've just been very kind to me and instead just slithered away like, oh, sorry, I was in your way kind of thing, to my horror. And mostly I just feel really bad. You know, there was definitely a time when I was first getting into looking for wild rattlesnakes, because I started doing this probably like 8 years ago, that I was a little bit afraid of them too. And of course I respect their venom and what it can do and how powerful it is. Oh, where are you? He sounds like he's in the sage. This is the zone where there's a huge male that hangs out in here. I've only seen him once, and I know he's still around because he's like, he probably eats rabbits. He's so big. But I've always wanted to see him again, but it's kind of a tough spot to find snakes in this area. I don't know if we'll see this guy or not. Thank you so much for making the trip and scheduling.
Thank you for making the trip and scheduling.
Of course, it's such a privilege to get to share this special encounter with not just you, but your audience. Okay, where are you? It's so annoying. It's like you see me, but I definitely don't see you.
God, he's like right there, isn't he?
I have no idea where he is. I mean, I can hear him really well,
totally.
Obviously.
Viewers, can you hear that? He's another ornery one.
Yeah, some of them are just not, they do not want our presence. Oh, I see. Oh, that's kind of cool. So, since he's rattling anyway, do you see his body? These scales that are moving right there. Yeah.
Wait, I lost it. Where is he? There, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
got beautiful colors, like really peachy. He matches the rocks really well here.
Huh.
This is not the giant snake that I was talking about, though. The really big rattlesnakes, at least in the shrub steppe, tend to be a really faded green color. In other areas, that's not necessarily true. Like they can be a dark green, but usually really big, old rattlesnakes are very faded in terms of pattern, at least. You see that, like how I don't think you can see me right now, but just my shift in weight caused him to rattle again. I think they have they don't have an external ear, but they do have an inner ear, and I think they are very attuned to footfall.
Huh.
Yeah, I really want to see my big bruiser again. I love that snake. He's so magnificent. But I don't know. This is a hard area to walk through. So if you were just geologizing around, would you just be clambering all over a rock outcropping like this?
I really would. I mean,
that is so crazy. I think about that, especially with climbers too, like rock climbers, unwittingly climbing on a rattlesnake den. Like, oh my gosh, that would be crazy. So have you accidentally came across a rattlesnake den before by just...
Definitely ran into snakes. No idea if it was a den. The story I've usually told is I was a master's student, Southern Idaho. I was climbing on this, again, rather platy stuff, Adrian, the same kind of thing, but it was rhyolite and it was an ash flow tuff. And I was literally reaching up to pull myself up, and there was 3 rattlesnakes right there on that top level. And
right where you were going to put your hand?
Yes. So tons of rattles. I almost fell all the way back down, but that was about as close as an encounter I'd had. And a little bit in Umtanum, but that's just through the sage there.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, I don't know, maybe today will change the way I walk around out here, but...
Yeah, see, for me...
okay, so if I'm on an isolated bedrock knob like this, and I run into, let's say, 2 different rattlesnakes in the span of an hour, am I to therefore conclude that I must be on a den? Or how are they getting to that isolated knob?
It would depend on the time of year, and it depends on your definition of a den, because rattlesnakes aggregate at different times of the year for different reasons. And in the winter, so bounded by early spring and late fall, that reason is for winter refuge. So that's a hibernaculum, technically, is the term for a place where animals overwinter to get away from colder temperatures outside. So that's one version of a den, a winter den, you could say. And then there's summer dens or late spring dens or early fall dens, and those are places where snakes aggregate for other reasons. So for courting and breeding, especially, that's typically when snakes from different dens might have a common meeting point in the summer where they can mix genetic material, right? So they're not only reproducing with their family members from the den. And hormone production is correlated with shedding in snakes. So they'll kind of, after they all kind of get their first spring meal, then they'll migrate to a communal shedding / breeding site where they'll shed kind of in tandem with each other, and then sort of have this like mating scene where males will combat for breeding rights to females, even though there's no evidence to suggest that whoever wins a fight between males has any influence on who she preferentially gives paternity to. She can differentiate sperm and have multiple paternity from multiple males within a given litter. And then she can also store sperm for up to 6 years, it's been documented, and pull on that sperm from previous mating encounters in future scenarios when she's like, oh yeah, I really liked him, haven't found anyone as good as him in a few years, so I'm just gonna pull on that store and bring it up and have some more of his babies this year. It's crazy. I mean, that's an adaptation for like stochastic years in which they don't get to mate, right? So that they can still reproduce because the biological imperative. But yeah. So yeah, there's all different kinds of dens. So depending on the time of year, if you were to come across an isolated basalt outcropping like this in April or May or September or October, and you found, I would say, at least 2, more like a little more than that, I think it would be safe to conclude that that was a den. But then again, a den doesn't necessarily mean dozens of snakes. They can, you know, den at isolated outcroppings or even anywhere that supplies them with that thermal refugia. So I'm sure lots of snakes don't make it back to their desired overwintering location in time every year, and they just have to settle for something that will just barely suffice. And then if you were to come across a group of snakes in the summer, then that would probably be correlated with breeding and shedding activities.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's fun stuff. I love that you can find rattlesnakes grouped up together at all times of year, basically. It's not just like a spring and fall thing.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily true in every state. That's a northern latitude thing, where and also like a patchily distributed resource thing where we don't have that much basalt, at least up here out of the channeled scablands. So they're really forced to use these certain areas. Yeah. Okay, good question.
Thank you for today.
Thank you. This was so much fun. What a perfect, gorgeous day in the shrub steppe. That's the key. Okay, my mic is on.
Yep.
Nice. You've got good eyes, Nick. I'm super impressed. It's true. Some people have a really hard time. He's all sunlit and content. But the humans are back.
Humans are back. So you thought this one was like 2 or 3 years old or something?
Yeah, it's really hard to guess, but he's, you know, maybe 4 or 5, but just old enough to breed probably. Oh.
That was me.
Oh, you're fine. I don't think he's gonna move. I think, yeah, that's what I thought. I think today has demonstrated just how different every snake is in terms of what they're willing to tolerate. And some snakes, it's basically nothing. You see that, how when you moved your camera in a little bit, just it's a rattle. Oh.
Can't see the rattle.
It's in the shadow of the diagonal rock to his left. He's like, I really don't want to move, so please don't make me move. He's so well camouflaged in there, huh?
There's
Oh, show me that thing.
There's
He's like, don't make me use this.
there's the rattle. Wow. Perfect shot. Best shot we got yet.
Nice. Yeah, I think you can tell that his rattle is intact. The first snake that we filmed that was partially under the sage branch, its rattle had been broken because it didn't end in that perfect taper. Sorry. Don't worry, you won't see a human again until October. That would be me.